Quý vị đang theo dõi chương trình Những phát biểu nổi bật trong ngày, cập nhật những phát ngôn của các nhà lãnh đạo thế giới liên quan đến tình hình xung đột, cũng như các vấn đề nóng trên toàn cầu trong 24 giờ qua.
Вашингтон, уверовав в свою безнаказанность, продолжает сеять разрушение и хаос на Ближнем Востоке. Крупнейшая с 2003 года авиационная операция Соединенных Штатов в регионе. Видим в этих попытках поиграть мускулами прежде всего стремление повлиять на внутриполитические расклады в Америке. Желание хоть как-то подправить провальный имидж действующей американской администрации на международной арене в свете набирающей обороты президентской предвыборной кампании.
We have conveyed, firstly, to China our dismay, our despair, our frustration, but to put it really simply, our outrage at this verdict. This is a very harsh sentence on Dr. Young, who is a man who's not in good health.
Iraq, like every country in the region, understood that there would be a response after the deaths of our soldiers. As for this specific response on Friday, there was not a pre-notification. We informed the Iraqis immediately after the strikes occurred. First, our colleagues at the Pentagon are continuing to do their battle damage assessment. But again, these targets were carefully selected, and as I said, they included command and control centers, rocket, missile, drone, storage facilities. We believe that these were credible targets and picked in a way to minimize and avoid civilian casualties. I've seen some of those allegations of casualties among Iraqi security forces because of these strikes on these terrorist-operated facilities are concerning. It would mean that these rogue Iran-aligned militia groups are working in proximity to official Iraqi security forces. But again, these battle damage assessments are still ongoing, and I don't have anything conclusive to offer from up here, and I'm sure my colleagues at the Pentagon would be able to speak more to that.
U.S. military forces conducted strikes February 2nd on 7 facilities in Iraq and Syria, which included more than 85 targets that Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and affiliated militias have used to attack U.S. forces. Although we continue to evaluate, we currently assess that we had good effects and that the strikes destroyed or functionally damaged more than 80 targets at the 7 facilities. The number of casualties is still being assessed. So, Laura, as I understand it, CENTCOM is continuing to assess, but initial indications are we're not aware of any Iranians killed, but again, we'll continue to analyze, and as we have updates, we'll...
Вашингтон, уверовав в свою безнаказанность, продолжает сеять разрушение и хаос на Ближнем Востоке. Крупнейшая с 2003 года авиационная операция Соединенных Штатов в регионе, подаваемая Джо Байденом как акт возмездия за атаку с применением БПЛА неустановленного происхождения по незаконно находящейся в Сирии американской базе, не имеет оправдания. Видим в этих попытках поиграть мускулами прежде всего стремление повлиять на внутриполитические расклады в Америке. Желание хоть как-то подправить провальный имидж действующей американской администрации на международной арене в свете набирающей обороты президентской предвыборной кампании. При этом тот факт, что такие действия ведут к дальнейшей эскалации международной напряженности и приводят к гибели мирного населения, стратегов в Вашингтоне не волнует.
The United States conducted precision airstrikes on February 2 in Iraq and Syria against Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and affiliated militia groups. This necessary and proportionate action was taken in exercise of the United States' inherent right of self-defense as reflected in Article 51 of the UN Charter. Colleagues, on February 2nd, I also want to stress that these strikes are separate and distinct from the coalition strikes in Yemen, which were in response to the Iranian-backed Houthis' lawless attacks on naval vessels in international shipping in the Red Sea. Let me be clear. The United States does not desire more conflict in a region when we are actively working to contain and de-escalate the conflict in Gaza. And we are not seeking a direct conflict with Iran. But we will continue to defend our personnel against unacceptable attacks, period.
The U.S. military action is illegal and unjustified and blatantly violate the basic norms and principles of international law and the United Nations Charter, particularly paragraph 4 of Article 2 of the Charter. It is also a flagrant breach of Iraq and Syria territorial integrity, sovereignty, and political independence. Iran also strongly condemns the joint military action of the United States and the United Kingdom against Yemen, which constitute an obvious violation of the United Nations Charters and international law. Furthermore, they have openly abused Security Council Resolution 2722. These illegal actions, which targeted civilians and vital infrastructure, jeopardize regional peace and security, as well as pose a serious threat to international peace and security. All of the resistance groups in the region are independent, and their decisions and actions are motivated by their legitimate rights under international law that are ending the illegal presence of U.S. in their territories, stopping the genocide in Gaza, and ending the occupation of Palestinian territories. Therefore, any attempt to attribute these actions to Iran or its armed forces is misleading, baseless, and unacceptable. Iran never seeks to contribute to the spillover in the region.
رأي المقاومة الإسلامية في العراق أن الأمريكان لا يحترمون العهود، لا نثق بالأمريكان، غير صادقين وغير جادين في خروجهم من العراق. لذلك أنه المقاومة الإسلامية أنه مستمرة في عملياتها العسكرية حتى أنه خروج الاحتلال الأمريكي من العراق. موقفنا راح يكون من خلال رد المقاومة الإسلامية بالعراق في قادم الأيام إن شاء الله. وجود الأمريكان، وجود هذا الاحتلال الأمريكي والابتزاز الأمريكي والتهديد بورقة داعش أو غير داعش أو التدخل بالشؤون الداخلية لدول الجوار أو العراق هو الذي يزعزع هذه المنطقة الغنية بالنفط.
طبعا هذا اليوم هذه ليست أول مرة تعرضت قافلة للأونروا مع الأمم المتحدة، تعرضت للضرب، وهذا ثالث مرة تتعرض قافلة لنا وهي متجهة إما إلى الشمال أو عائدة من الشمال إلى ضربة أو إلى التعرض. هذا طبعا أمر غير مقبول. القوافل الإنسانية بحسب القانون الإنساني الدولي يجب حمايتها من كافة أطراف النزاع أيضا أثناء القتال.
Hungary is the last NATO ally to ratify NATO's membership, and we're glad that Hungary's parliament held that session today. At the same time, we are disappointed that the ruling party blocked the opportunity for a vote by boycotting the session. Hungary has said that it supports Sweden's NATO accession, and it has also said that Sweden has fulfilled its commitments and is ready to become a NATO ally. We believe the matter of Sweden's NATO accession has been settled, and our hope is that we can work through this final process expeditiously.
I voted for Donald Trump twice. I was proud to serve America in his administration. But chaos follows him. Y'all know I'm right. Chaos follows him. And we can't be a country in disarray and a world on fire and go through 4 more years of chaos. We won't survive it. And speaking of Congress, don't you think it's finally time we had term limits in Washington, D.C.? Don't you think we need to have mental competency tests for anyone over the age of 75? Now, let me say this. I'm not being disrespectful when I say that. We all know 75-year-olds that can run circles around us. And then we know Joe Biden. We need to know they're at the top of their game. Right now, Congress has become the most privileged nursing home in the country. There will be a female president of the United States. The hard truth is, it will either be me or Kamala Harris. Do we really want to be a country in disarray and a world on fire and have our two candidates be in their 80s? What are we doing? We need somebody that's going to be 8 years disciplined, focused, and ready for the job.
We have conveyed, firstly, to China our dismay, our despair, our frustration, but to put it really simply, our outrage at this verdict. This is a very harsh sentence on Dr. Young, who is a man who's not in good health, and we will continue to make the strongest representations. We have said very clearly that we'll cooperate with China where we can, but we'll disagree where we must. We must disagree with this harsh action by China. We have done so, we will continue to do so. Look, we will respond very directly to China. We'll respond directly and clearly and unequivocally to China. Well, what we won't do is conduct diplomatic negotiations through the media. That's not what we do. We've made our position very clear, the details of which we will make directly to China. Can I just say that today the thoughts of all Australians are with King Charles and his family. We wish him very much a speedy recovery. I will be sending a message to the palace this morning, and we hope that King Charles has a speedy recovery and a return to his duties as soon as possible.